Oh, hey, welcome back, Critical Conversations. If you listened to the last episode, Franklin went nuts towards the end. It was definitely the mailman. So I just wanted to apologize for that. And also, if the desk is shaking a little bit, if you're watching the video, it's a little bit wobbly because I have my foot up on the desk because I got myself in a little bit of a tizzy fight with the ground and broke my foot. So it's elevated right now. And it's kind of hard to find a comfortable position here to record, but we're doing it. We're getting through. Today, you guys, I want to talk about, I'm batching a bunch of content. I'm getting ready. We're leaving for Nicaragua. We're going to be gone for a little bit. So I'm batching a bunch of content. I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited to take a break when I get to Nicaragua. And so I'm doing a bunch of podcast episoding before I leave. And I want to talk today about relationships. And I don't want to talk about relationships as in like how to stay connected or enhance your relationship. I want to talk about breakups. I want to talk about ending of relationships, why those are challenging. I want to talk about the reality of who we are when we are going through a breakup, why we're not always our best self, and that's okay. I want to give us some permission for making mistakes here. So let's dive right in. I think in the last 3 to 5 years, I have gone through the most breakups I've ever gone through in my personal life with relationships as far as like friendships go. And, I've gone through interesting breakups like way back in the day, right? Boyfriend, girlfriend, other friendships. But nothing like what has happened in the most recent times, where work relationship breakups. So we're not just talking about like good friends. We're talking about like workplace dynamic breakups, maybe employee dynamics, good friendships, as well as maybe it's family members and maybe it is a relationship. But I want to talk about this because it is so important for us to acknowledge that when you're going through a breakup, no matter what it is, no matter what prompted it, no matter like what came about, like why it's happening, it's okay. It's okay. You're okay. And you're not your best self during a breakup. And the other person is likely not their best self during the same breakup. And I want to talk about why that is. So I've talked before on the podcast around, the universe being an algorithm. I've talked a little bit about, why we have to look for the positive, like, all of these things. But when you're going through a breakup, especially one that's unexpected, it can be really challenging for you to show up in a reasonable, rational way. And so I really want to get clarity around why we have to be more forgiving with ourselves and more forgiving with the other person, because the reality is they're not their best self either. And I've talked, I did a brief rant on Instagram a while ago around, it's the holidays, when I'm recording all of this, and it's, everyone's like, I gotta hold a boundary with this family member and that family member. And like, I have had to come in and remind people like, yes. And just remember that while you are holding your boundary around X, Y, and Z, the person on the other side of that is likely creating their own boundary. So you can't just sit there and say, I'm holding a boundary and you have to respect my boundary. It's like, it goes both ways. You also have to respect what they're trying to set a boundary around. And this is why I think the key to happiness is truly non-judgment, non-attachment, and understanding that you're going to choose what's best for you. I'm going to choose what's best for me. And the moment I can celebrate what's best for you, as well as accept and celebrate what's best for me, it's like, that's the freedom. That's the freedom. That's when like life gets really fucking sweet, because we're saying, you got to do you, I got to do me, love and peace and acceptance and all the things for both sides. And the moment you can click in that, whew, man, you will freaking skyrocket. And I think that that's the level that I've been playing with. Am I perfect at it? No. But let's talk about a most recent, well, I've got a lot of breakups. A lot of things, and a lot of things I'm not super proud of, but the reality is you know, if I have the good, or not the good, if I have the mindset around this is happening for me, this is for my growth, this is for my evolution, you know, and if I really wrap my head around that and I find peace and comfort in those, you know, in that truth, then it really does allow all of us a lot of freedom. And so if I can look at these bad breakups and I can say, it happened for me, truly. And I can take it for what it is. I can soak up the lesson out of it. I can, you know, grasp at what I learned and what's beautiful about it. Then I can move on and I can make different choices next time. So these breakups that I've had have really been pivotal life moments where I'm learning more about who I am. I'm learning more about how I can trust myself, how I can lead myself, how I can better guide myself. And I get to create a new pathway for the future so that it can look differently. Not so I can avoid a future breakup, but so that it can be better for me and hopefully better for them too, really. So breakups suck balls. Let's just say it for what it is. They suck. They're hard. Our egos get in the way a lot. And when you are going through something as dynamic as that, as a breakup, you're not your best self because everything's changing. What you had pre-planned in your mind is changing. What you thought you understood is changing. What you thought you knew to be true is changing. Everything's shifting in a breakup. And you're re-identifying new pathways. And none of us like change. Yet it's the only constant in our life, but we fight it, right? That's our nature. That's our brain protecting us. Our brain is saying, let me keep you safe in the known habits, in the known cycles, in the known behaviors. And so anytime that normal hamster wheel is disrupted via a breakup, we panic. We instantly go to fight or flight. We become more reactionary because we're being challenged and the pathway that we thought we knew and understood is now different. So breakups equal not your best self. And if that is true for you, it's also true for the other person on the other side. Now, here's the thing about me that is really fucking challenging. I have a hard time letting things go. I tend to replay the scenario. I tend to overthink it. I tend to overanalyze it. I tend to try and empathize with the person on the other side. And I often shrink myself. And this is why I think I've had such tumultuous breakups, is because I hide what is true for me for so long. This is a people-pleasing pattern. I hide away what I feel. I hide away my true feelings. I don't speak up. I don't say what I should. I don't say what I think until it gets to this point where I can no longer not speak my truth. And then what happens is I freak the fuck out. And then it's a giant breakup. So I have had 2 historic, horrid breakups. And what's happened is in those breakups, it's because I didn't speak my truth earlier. It's because I didn't honor my truth earlier. It's because I didn't lean in and get curious about, you know, having difficult conversations earlier. And because I just trust people to a fault and I allow people to kind of quote unquote walk all over me. Not really, but really, I allow things to prolong. And because of that, I have had big breakups because I don't listen to what the universe is trying to put in front of me. And I wait. thinking, oh, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. Like if I just hold out, it's going to get better. It's going to go away. Avoidance, right? And so the more we avoid, the more we ignore, the more we are non, communicative of our needs, the bigger the breakup's going to be, because it's going to get to that head where you don't have the option. And in my experience, that's when it really sucks. So let's talk about it. So, two major breakups. One was me breaking up with the woman who I worked with on the East Coast. She was my mentor. She was the person who got me into coaching. Many of you will know who she is. And I think for a while, we both knew it wasn't working. I think we had some major wins together. We had done some really cool shit together, but it was getting to a point where it wasn't working. And I think we both avoided it, to be completely fair. I think we both ignored our frustrations. And so I can sit here and tell you, I know what the breaking point was. I don't remember exactly what it was about. I know how it came through. I know how it happened. I know the way that it made me feel. But I also know that it could have been avoided. It could have been avoided through some difficult conversations. It could have been avoided through facing some of the cold, hard truths. Hi. Oh, Blanquita's here coming to say hi. And the reality is I ignored a lot of those, and she probably did too, she was here on the other side. And the reality is we were meant to break up. We were meant to break up. We were meant to not be together. And there were likely hundreds of hidden, subtle cues from the universe pointing us in that direction, and we ignored them all. And so what happens is the universe gets a little bit louder. The lessons get a little more challenging, and it really did blow up. And I think it blew up for our benefit, but it sucks to break up. And so what happened is it came to this bigger thing, and it didn't need to go that far, but it did because I wasn't listening, and I don't think she was either. I think that's the way hindsight works. In hindsight, should I have done X, Y, and Z? No, probably not. I would have made different choices, but that's the reality of it. The universe is working in our favor. Things are happening for us. And so the more we can get curious about what are these subtle cues, the more we can listen to our gut, trust our gut, and avoid some of these harder breakups. So long story short, we end up, dissolving our partnership, our business working relationship. And it was a breakup. And breakups are hard. And I think it was hard for our clients. I know it was hard for me. It was hard for our clients to discern who to be faithful for or understand why this happened. And it wasn't bad. Here's the thing. It wasn't bad. It was just, it got to a point where it wasn't good. Right? Nothing bad happened. Nobody did anything, it just was not our path. We were not meant to work together anymore. And we weren't listening to the little signs that were there. And in hindsight, I look back and I'm like, wow, that was kind of like, that was a hit. That was a hit. That was a hit. And really, I'm where I'm meant to be, and she's where she's meant to be. But it came to a giant head. It came to this big breakup that could have been avoided had we practice listening to our guts and being a little bit more confident, speaking our truth, being more honest, being more vulnerable. You'll catch me saying a lot that I believe vulnerability is the way that we heal the world. And I really believe that, because the more honest we are, I think the better it gets for everyone. So, fast forward through all of this chaos, you guys, there was another breakup in my life. And fucking hell, this one was 10 times worse than the one that was work related, which I guess technically this one was work related too, but this was my my time in dance team. And I know I've spoken about this, I've touched on it a little bit, but my last year of coaching dance team was the worst year. I was not my best self. I didn't want to be there. I think everyone knew it. I was just unwilling to be honest with myself about that reality because I was attaching my ego to it. I was trying to force it for so long. And the reality is I wasn't meant to be in that world either. And it's like literally everything that could go wrong as a coach in a high school went wrong. Like the parent complaints, the kids, the drama, issues with the past coaching staff, like people going behind my back. I mean, like shit happened that should not have happened. And it happened against me. It happened because I allowed it to. It happened because I participated. I did not show up my best self. My first year of coaching and my last year of coaching, were not my best years. The first year is because I didn't know better. And my last year is because I wasn't being honest about where I needed to be in life. It was not where I should have been. It was not where my time and energy was. The kids deserved better. The parents deserved better. I should have said no, but I let my ego get involved. I kept thinking, no, I'm doing this for the right reasons. And the reality is I should have quit 4 years before I quit. I should have quit 4 years before I finally did decide that I was done. And, it will remain a top 3 regret of my life. I don't regret what happened with me and my work partner. I'm not going to say her name just because it's not fair. Some of you already know, and that's okay. And the reality is now, I love her so deeply and I have such compassion for her and our relationship. And I think we both, we're in a bit of a codependent cycle in the last year of us working together. So I know she's better off without me. And I know I'm better off because of her. And that breakup is not a regret. I don't regret that. What I regret, I do regret the way that dance team happened. I do regret my last 4 years of coaching. I think that, it was the wrong dynamic. And it will remain something that I wish I would have really given further thought to. And it just, I'm sharing this vulnerably because I think it's also a great moment to recognize that even life coaches who are out there supporting individuals, we make mistakes and we're not perfect. I think the difference is I keep getting up, I keep going, I look at those failures and I'm like, I would have done it differently, but I also learned so much, and it was tragic. There was heartache and, did I intentionally do harm to anyone? No, but was there harm inflicted? Yeah, of course. And I feel terrible about that. And there are a lot of kids and parents that I would go back and change things. The person I co-coached with for a while, I would have done a lot of things differently. I would have been more honest about how I felt. And I should have never gotten into it, period. That's the reality. And I knew that, but I wanted it. And in hindsight, my ego wanted it. And so breakups are hard and you don't always show up as your best self, but breakups are the pathway of you becoming who you're meant to be. Breakups are the pathway for you to step into the better version of yourself. And so I look at these 2 big breakups that I had and how tumultuous they were at the time and how they have helped me land in the better version of who I am now. And so I can now look at them with gratitude. It takes a lot of time to get there. I'll give you that. It takes a lot of time to get there. It's not easy. It's not fun. It's confronting. But what I've realized now is that was part of the plan. That was part of my journey. Those were building blocks that helped me be who I am now. And I really like the version I am now. And it's not without past mistakes. And so can you look at what has happened in your life? Can you look at the bad breakups? Can you anticipate the breakups and see yourself with a little more gratitude? Can you give yourself a little more grace? Can you be curious about how you can soften the edges around it? I think what I would do differently, I mean, hindsight, I would have never, done any of it, right? But the reality is, like, if had I not worked with the person on the East Coast, had we not partnered together to do this business, I wouldn't be where I am right now at all. So, like, I have to find the gratitude for her and for that and that dynamic. And I have to look at it with so much love and compassion and so much gratitude, because it saved my life. That work saved my life. It landed me where I am today. It helped me be in my purpose. And I have helped so many women because of that work. And, again, with the dance team, it's like, I should have never done it, right? I should have retired when I chose to retire from one school. I should have not changed schools, and I let my ego get in the way. But I look at what came of that, and I know so much more of who I am because of that terrible experience. And again, it wasn't all terrible. It wasn't all bad, but it pretty much sucked for everyone, I think. And I hate that, but I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about trying to be in rooms where I wasn't wanted. I learned a lot about people being honest. I learned a lot about trust and truth, and mostly trust and truth of myself. I learned how I don't want to go into rooms where I'm not wanted anymore. I don't want to go into rooms where I feel like it's off. Instead, I want to trust myself and know it's off for a reason. I don't need to understand why. I need to just politely excuse myself, because the reality is it wasn't the right fit for me. And that's okay. That's okay. So breakups suck balls, like big ones. And I don't know about you, but balls are pretty gross. So that's just my personal preference. But the reality is if you're going through a breakup, if you're anticipating a breakup, if you're on the other side of a breakup, if a breakup happened and you're having a hard time getting over it, I want you to go back and look at it with compassion. I want you to soften your edges around it and understand that no, you weren't your best self, and that's okay. And know the person on the other side of that breakup, they likely were not their best self, and that's okay. Can you forgive? It's not about forgetting. It's about forgiveness so that you can evolve, so that you can come out the other side, so that your perspective can be better and you can gain some clarity around, what rooms you're going to enter in the future, what contracts you're going to sign in the future, what you're going to agree to take on in the future. The more you are willing to take time to look at these and get curious about them, the better it gets. And again, like, can we just stop living in this world of perfectionism? Like, Instagram isn't fucking real. LinkedIn isn't real. Facebook isn't real. TikTok isn't real. Like, none of those social media platforms are real. And probably even what your fucking friends are saying isn't real. Like, what's the truth? The truth is we're all a little chubby on the edges. We all have sharp edges. We all have curved edges. We're all a little bit different, and none of us are perfect. We all have flaws. And the faster we can accept that nobody's perfect and we all make mistakes, the better this world gets. Nigel and I get in arguments all the time, and I'm like, fuck, I was a bitch and I'm sorry. And I'm going to own that I was a bitch. Can you forgive me? Right? And he'll be like, yeah, I'm being a dick. I'm stressed out. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's stop being a dick and let's talk about why you're stressed out. So, the reality is, can we own the moments where we're not our best selves and understand that that's part of our story too? And that we don't just have to show the pretty picture, the perfect sunset, and understand that there are storms within all of that. And we all aren't going to make good decisions every time. It's like, how many of you have accidentally run a red light? All the time, right? But the one time you run the red light and you hit another car, that's going to suck big balls, right? So it's like, soften your edges around your mistakes, buddy, because yeah, some of them are really going to suck and some of them don't suck, but can you own all of them? Can you just say, yeah, I fucked up? And it sucks. It's uncomfortable, right? Your chest might hurt. Your belly might hurt. You might get a headache. You might feel tired or sick or blah, 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 blah. But it's like, can you accept that you're imperfect? And can you just understand that imperfection is part of it? And do your best, right? The Four Agreements by Don Miguel. If you haven't read it, read it. It's a great fucking book. It's one that I point in the direction of almost all my clients. He talks about do your best. If you show up and you genuinely are doing your best, then that's enough. And I think that I was doing my best at these pivotal moments in my life. And is it the best I could be? No, but in that time, in that period, with what I had, what my capabilities were, with what I understood about myself, with where I was at on my journey, that was my best. And yep, it wasn't good enough. Absolutely. It could have been a lot better, but that's what I know now. And that's where the reflection and the hindsight, that's where growth comes from, right? Because a plant can't be a seed and a seed can't be a plant without a transitional period. There's a period of growth, and not all growth is beautiful. Not all stages of a plant growing is beautiful. And so if we can just soften our edges and give ourselves a little more grace, and the other people on the other side of breakups, I really do think that it's going to be beneficial for all the parties involved. So that's my story about breakups. It sucks. They were hard. I would have done a lot of things differently, but I know better now. So all I can say is I know better and I'm going to do better. Wasn't my best self. A lot of people I would give a big fat hug and kiss to and say, I'm so sorry. But I can't, right? I don't get that beautiful resolution. My resolution is just knowing in my heart and forgiving myself and accepting it and trusting myself to do better in the future. That's what I can do. And so that's my path. That's where I'm choosing to put the emphasis. That's where I'm choosing to put my focus, because you can't go back and change it. And the reality is a lot of those people don't want to fucking hear it from me either. Like, their mind is made up. And that's cool. And I wish them well. And I wish them joy and peace and growth and happiness. And that's what I want for myself. And so I wish that for every other human being as well. So that's the truth on breakups. And I hope you found this conversation beneficial. Yeah, I'm sorry if you're in it. I'm sorry if it happened to you. And I know it's going to come. I know there'll be more. And I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry you're going through that. I'm sorry you're going to go through that. But I hope you know that it's just part of it. And you're not alone. And we all make mistakes. We all say the wrong thing. We do the wrong thing. That's part of being a human, is the duality of we can be good people and make mistakes. We can be good people and fuck up. And so I hope you know that it doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't have to mean anything about you. It's just one tick. It's one day. It's 1 month. It's 1 year of your whole life. So don't take the weight out of it. Don't make it mean anything. And trust yourself. Trust yourself to move forward. All right. That's it for me. Blanca says done. Thanks for being here.